It's Tuesday evening, and it's time for another Auburn baseball midweek chat. A little bit earlier than normal. We'll talk about why in just a second. In this live stream, we're going to be talking about that big LSU series, the game that should have happened tonight, and looking ahead to Ole Miss as well, right here, right now. War Eagle, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Kyle here at E2C Network. We appreciate you hanging out with us, spending some time talking about something in the Auburn experience. On this particular live stream, as is the case on most Tuesday nights, we are doing a baseball midweek chat where we check in and talk about what's going on with the program right now, so you can get your weekly dose of Auburn baseball content here as part of our channel. We've got some exciting things to talk about. We've also got some disappointing things to talk about, particularly about tonight, because normally we're doing this very late. So I guess you could say it's a blessing and a curse. It is something that you probably are like, if you tune into this, this is a little bit better doing this earlier. But we obviously don't have a midweek game to talk about because the Samford game was closed out. But we are going to talk about a two-game series win against LSU, and looking ahead to a challenging Ole Miss squad on the road. So a lot of exciting things to discuss here. First of all, let's get started as we always do. Would love to hear from you. Who's watching live? Post where you're watching from right now. Your city, your state, international. If you're international, let us know who is here hanging out with us tonight, spending some time talking about this particular topic, and share your thoughts throughout the stream tonight. And a War Eagle as well is always a good way to get started off tonight. A couple of people already checking in. Thomas, Angela Crotchfield, mom, I believe, of our pitcher, Zach. So thanks for being here. And War Eagle from Jersey. Oh, I didn't know you guys were in Jersey. So we got Iowa, we got Leeds, Alabama, and we got Jersey all checking in tonight, which is really awesome. So good crowd already assembling. Thank you guys so much for being here. Let me give you the quick rundown of what happened in the previous week, and then we can kind of bounce around to different topics and hit all the different aspects of this midweek check for Auburn baseball. As you are well aware, since last time we got together, your Auburn Tigers took down the #1 LSU Tigers at Plainsman Park. So it was a home series by 2 games in a 3-game series. On Friday, they did take a very close loss, 0-3. But on Saturday is where things started turning for the real Tigers, getting a win 8-6. And on Sunday, getting that decisive, dominant run rule win by 12-2 in 8 innings, which was a big surprise for all of us, for Auburn to knock off the best team at that time in the land. And they're being rewarded by it now by a lot of commentators starting to finally take them seriously, even with some of the pitching struggles that have been there, and thus finally finding their way back into some rankings out there, if not all, I believe. But I think at least the majority of them, they're finding their way into as well. According to the athletic department, the release they put out, as far as they can tell in the records, that is the first time that a team has taken down the overall #1 ranked team. And that is pretty incredible. And they got a first series win against a top-ranked team in program history, as far as they can tell in the records, which is an absolutely great accomplishment for them. Right now, we should, as I said, we already should be talking about a Samford game. Got some thoughts about that in a second. And then obviously the Ole Miss series. So that is what is on the table. Let's go back to LSU, since we don't have a really good game to talk about tonight. Did anybody else see that one coming? I felt like Auburn, riding off of the momentum of South Carolina knocking off the #2 team on the road, and I think it was the first series loss for South Carolina this season at their home field. Did anyone see this series win coming the way it did? You might have said Auburn's going to get 1 game, which is what should have been always the goal when you're coming up against a formidable team like that. Gotta not get swept. It sounds like a low hanging fruit type of situation, but you got to focus on not getting swept. Who else thought they would win the series? And who else thought that they would run rule this team, the LSU Tigers, to get that win. Absolutely incredible way to win it, to maximize what was a good weekend in Auburn. A lot of people who weren't there won't be aware that it was graduation weekend and finals leading up to all that. So it was a very busy, hectic weekend. Softball was in town too, and they had a series win too. So for those of you that live in Auburn, those of you that live close to Auburn and can go, if you were there, you were treated to some good old Auburn time there. The first couple of innings were wild, Thomas says. I actually wasn't able to tune into the first few innings, but from what I understand from commentary on social media, as I was trying to keep track of what was going on, that it got pretty interesting. There was an assistant coach thrown out for LSU. If anybody's got a perspective on that, please share it in the chat. But I have not invested time into figuring out exactly what happened with that, because that was while I was not able to be, officially tuned in. But I heard that there were some things that happened. There were also things that happened with fans this weekend. We've referenced it in our Auburn Experience podcast. We've referenced it in other areas that at least one, if not many, LSU Tiger fans expressed their concern with how they were treated at Plainsman Park. And look, I wasn't there. I can't say what did and didn't happen. All I saw was a lot of whining and complaining on social media behind an anonymous account. So it's hard to take that seriously. And when you take jabs at the Auburn family, they usually come roaring back at you in defense, especially if it looks a little shady, whether you're actually saying something that's true or not. But anyway, that was all part of what was going on there. Jack says, obviously they weren't the best team at that time. Are you saying that about LSU? I mean, you probably can make that case now with the information we have with Auburn beating them. They're not the best team at now with us taking the series from them. To me, it was shocking and has been shocking how competitive Auburn has been against some of the better teams in the SEC. All we heard leading up to this season was Auburn's going to be at the bottom of the SEC. They're in a rebuild year. And at times, a lot of that was true. But that doesn't mean that you can't get the talent and the pieces that you have pointed in the right direction. And yet again, Butch Thompson has done that, which is absolutely, well, it shouldn't be incredible at this point because that's just what he does. So with all of the pitching struggles, kind of up and down nature of it, we've still found a way to win, powered by an offense which was stymied in the first game of the LSU game, but not like it was a blowout or anything. 0-3 is nothing to get really too upset about. But yeah, when you come out and score, what was it, 8 runs in the second game and then 12 run ruling your opponent in the third game, that's really impressive. A couple of people to keep in mind from this weekend, big contributors, and this is more so for the week in general, but the last whole week. But Kaysen Howell, Bryson Ware, big names, of course. It felt like there was a Bryce bomb going off at any point last week. He led the team. Bryson Ware did with 3.375 average, 6 runs in 3 games versus LSU. And then Kaysen Howell collected multiple hits in 2 out of 3 games in Auburn's series. So people getting on base and people bringing them in was huge to give the pitching staff the support that it needed to be as successful as it did against LSU. And I got to say, when you think about Auburn and you think about some of the struggles that they've had at pitching sometimes this year, you would think we'd be talking about at the end of this series games where Auburn gave up a lot of runs. Now, in the second game, where they did get a win, they gave up 6 runs, but that's the most they gave up all series. Gave up 3 in the first, 6 in the second, still won, and only gave up 2 in the third game where they got run ruled. It's interesting. I would love to be in the LSU locker room dugout after those games to really see what the the mood was like in there to see them processing what actually just happened to them. You know, it was really, really interesting to think about. All right, we can keep coming back to LSU if you'd like, but I'd like to mention tonight's game against Samford was canceled. So a couple things on that. So a lot of people, I think, and this was initially my reaction too. I saw that it was canceled, and I thought it was canceled fairly quickly from when it was supposed to start. And I thought, it seemed kind of like we took the earliest not excuse, I shouldn't say that, but the earliest avenue to cancel a game that really, in the grand scheme of things, probably wasn't all that important and probably could do more damage than good. But then when you understand how the schedule is going to lay out for the rest of the year and you want to make sure your guys get enough rest, because for those of you who aren't aware about the rest of the schedule, Ole Miss is coming up next this week, and they will be playing them in a Thursday, Friday, Saturday matchup, not a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So there's a much quicker turnaround than there would traditionally be, which makes this even more important to get them the rest. So you can understand it's not necessarily because of the rain tonight. It was because of scheduling, getting players the rest they need for Auburn. And I don't know what Samford's schedule is, but it probably was for that reason too for them. And this is probably one of those situations where if you win tonight against Samford, if they had played the game, it helps you. There was a graphic, I forget, posted by who, that I said, or that it said that if Auburn won this game, their RPI would go up by so much. And then the next graphic said that if they were to lose this game, how much more it would drop. So you really kind of were playing risky business tonight if you played the game. Now, Auburn is expected usually to win its midweek games. The problem is a lot of the teams that they play, especially in state, play some pretty good baseball too. Samford's one of them. UAB, Jacksonville State, who they'll play next week, I believe, this time, unless we have a rain out. They're not easy wins in midweek games. And it's not just an Auburn thing, but a lot of teams kind of get stuck in a habit of utilizing different players that they don't normally do on midweek games. And sometimes that opens them up for things. Auburn tonight probably would have found itself in a situation where it had a little bit pressure to win this game so as not to ruin the momentum they move forward. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise. I just didn't want people to go out there thinking, hey, they canceled just a little too quickly from the rain. There are other reasons besides that. All right. Right here, Neil says, saw some comments from LSU fans claiming LSU really didn't lose the series against AU, but instead LSU gave the series. Isn't that always how it goes for any opponent? But look, I've seen some of our fans do things like that in various sports too. It's a typical thing. We just can't accept when you got beat. LSU came to Plainsman Park and got their tails beat. Game 3 is proof enough of that. You got run ruled in 8 innings, 12-2. Take your lumps, take your shut up juice, and go home. You were the number 1 team. I haven't seen where they're in the rankings, but I would assume they at least dropped a little bit. You shouldn't lose a series to an unranked squad and then still be number 1. You could lose a game, but not a series. To me, that knocks you down a peg. So I'm not shocked that there were reports of that out there. Looking ahead a little bit, we mentioned a lot about the LSU game. If you got any other thoughts of that or Samford, let me know. But Samford obviously wasn't played tonight. Ole Miss. Last time I checked on Ole Miss, they were still struggling just a little bit. I should have had this already pulled up, but I'm trying to get the schedule pulled up right now so we can kind of look at how they've been doing after a little while. For a while there, the Mississippi schools, Mississippi State and Ole Miss, were all struggling quite a bit. So Ole Miss is coming off a series loss to Missouri, and that was at Missouri. They gave up quite a few runs too. And they gave up quite a few runs in all 3 of So let me just lay this out for you. And I'm already kind of salivating looking at this. And they're not playing a midweek game too. So Ole Miss gave up 11 runs in a 9-11 loss in game 1 against Missouri, lost 3-13, and then won 20-14, but still gave up 14 runs. What do we know that Auburn does really, really well? Scores runs. This could be a fun weekend, folks. Now, look, can't just look at stats and say this is how it's going to be. You got to go out there and earn this thing. But this is probably a good time while they're already riding high from beating the number 2 and now the number 1 ranked team in college baseball, not just SEC baseball, but college baseball. You really need to take advantage of an LSU team that is struggling to find its footing. They did win previously a series against Georgia, got swept by LSU, who we just won a series against. Got beat by Mississippi State in a series, got beat by Arkansas in a series, lost to Texas A&M, swept by Florida, swept by Vanderbilt. So the struggles have been real for them, just like it has been for us in SEC play. So what do we take away from our midweek chat here? Great, historic, pointing you in the right direction series win against LSU. Disappointing we don't get to play the game tonight to kind of keep the momentum going, so to speak, but maybe a little extra rest is also good. And then probably by the way Auburn feels right now in Ole Miss, you would expect Auburn to win this series, even though it's on the road. Nothing's given. You've got to take it. But it looks like it's setting up very nicely for a very fun offensive weekend for Auburn in the in the Ole Miss territory. So a couple things. If you got any other comments or questions about baseball, we can take those here, and then we'll hit those at the end. I want to give you a couple reminders that you need to be aware of. First off, what's the next scheduled live stream here? Always stay tuned and be subscribed because we got videos out all the time. Some new ones that we put out for recruiting stuff that you guys need to definitely check out. But if you stay here at the end of the live stream, it will take you to our next scheduled one, which will be our Auburn family live streams on Wednesday nights. So do that. Hit the like button. Go ahead and do that. Hit the notify me bell so you know as soon as it goes live at 8 p.m. tomorrow night. It's our call-in show. Don't miss that. Check out those links in the description for ways that you can help support us. You can be a subscriber. We're trying to reach 4,000 subscribers, and we'll probably call this giveaway done. We were trying to reach 5,000. I think it's going to take us a little while to get there. So we're going to do 4,000 now. Haven't officially announced that, but we'll do it. You could be a channel member. You could be a Booster Club member. All those things and more are available in the description link, including our story. You can see there on YouTube. All ways that you can help keep the lights on here at E2C Network and help us bring you the Auburn experience. Let's see here if we've got any. If I was in Tuscaloosa, I'd bet. Yeah. That's a good one right there. I'd like to add that Coach Butch can coach. Coaching absolutely matters. And I think that's a great point to bring up, Neil. I mentioned it earlier in the stream that if you're someone that finds yourself in the midst of some struggles this year, questioning Coach Butch Thompson, which surprisingly there was some out there. I wasn't aware of it, but I was told there was quite a bit of that. I would ask you to look at his resume and tell me what shows you that he's not going to get this thing righted to some degree, to various levels of success, right? But at least have them competitive at the end of the year. Now, because they did have some struggles at the beginning of the year, that's a much harder road to set yourself up on, but they're taking advantage of opportunities now, taking down the number 2 and the number 1 team in all of college baseball. So anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. These are always our shorter live streams, but want to give you some baseball related content. We hope to see you here tomorrow night for our live call-in show, 8 p.m. Do not miss it. And please, please do invite a friend so we can continue to grow our little family within the Auburn family, because you are the best little family within the Auburn family. Can't wait to talk to you again. Excited to watch some Auburn baseball this upcoming weekend. Until next time, War Eagle.